Shalom. Sons of Yahweh camp back again on the Sabbath, right? Calling out to the elect of the nation of Israel, right? First of all, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahawashi, right? Yahweh, the Most High, creator of all things, and Yahawashi, the Savior of the nation of Israel, a so-called black man who the world ignorantly knows as Jesus Christ, right? Also, I want to say peace and blessings to the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel, and woe to the other nations, right? So, back again, right? And so I got a lesson about, staying focused on your task at hand, right? Which is pleasing the Most High, right? Doing what's right, i.e., keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, and having faith in who the world ignorantly calls Jesus. Okay? So we gotta keep from being distracted by the wicked, right? Those wicked individuals that's out here in the limelight, all in your face, on TV and everywhere you go. But no, we need to focus on doing what's righteous. Okay? So let's start out with Deuteronomy 7:6.
Deuteronomy 7:6. For thou art a holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth.
That's right. So, talking about the Israelites, right? The Israelites, chosen people by the Most High. A holy people, right? So we have to be holy, which, what is holy? Set apart or separate, okay? So we have to be set apart from the other nations. And, we're going to look at an example from history to demonstrate why we should not be trusting or befriending these other nations, right? Why we should be separate from them and set apart from them, okay? And so let's get right into that, all right? So going into this book that I found, right? Brother Karab, if you could hold that book up, show them, right? It's called They Knew, right? And it's by Sarah Kinzier, and it's from 2022, right? So it's got some relatively recent information in it. Now I'm just going to focus on chapter 3 in this lesson, right? But hey, I advise everybody go and check this book out. It's got some good information in it. I might bring out a couple more lessons on the information in here, right? Because our people, we got to read more, right? Isn't that what they say? If you want to hide something from the black man, put it in the book, right? Here at Sons of Yahweh, we be looking in them books. You know what I'm saying? And so we here through the Spirit and power of the Most High to, bring this information out that we run across that we believe is pertinent to the nation of Israel. All right. So, like I said, starting out in chapter 3, right here. Which, so Brother Krab, if you would start us out with the title of the chapter, and then get right into it. Now, I'm just going to pull some excerpts out. We're not spoon feeding you the whole word for word, but we're just going through, pulling out the highlights. All right, and we're going to filter it through the scriptures, because these things are happening right now, and time is of the essence. Right? You don't have a whole lot of time to get yourself together, so listen up, Israelites. All right.
The title of chapter 3 is Epstein Wasn't the First.
Right. So, and we're talking about Jeffrey Epstein, right? Most people know of him because this is recent information and recent things that have taken place. And so, but it's a lot more than what you know that's been going on, right? So we're going to, bring out some of the details. All right, go ahead.
On January 18th, 1982, the New York Times published a piece called Have Names Will Open Right Doors.
Right. And that's a play on the TV show, I guess, back in the day of Western, Have Gun Will Travel, Go ahead.
About a man with the inside track on everyone in Washington, D.C. His name was Craig Spence. and he was a former ABC News correspondent turned Republican political operative. But above all, he was a power broker for the elite.
That's right. Right? So, we're going to be getting into the world of the elites a little bit and some of the foolishness that they got going on. Understand? All right. Let's read on.
Spence had become well known for the lavish parties he held in his home in D.C.'s opulent Colorama neighborhood. Attendees included State Department officials, ambassadors, and celebrities. He was friends with U.S. senators and former presidents, in particular Richard Nixon, and with the members of the Washington Press Corps. Spence conducted his affairs with a level of secrecy at odds with his flamboyant public persona.
Right. So even though a lot of people knew him and all that, he still kept a lot of his business under wraps. Right?
Even the phone number of his consulting firm was unlisted.
Right. Right. So he's not dying for customers or anything like that. He's he's rubbing elbows with all the elites and the politicians and celebrities, right? So, all right, let's read on.
Did you want that first?
Yes, start right there.
Yeah. Okay. Who was Craig Spence, really, and whom did he serve?
Okay, so right, it's talking about this Craig Spence individual. People wondering, who is he? Who does he serve? All right. Well, let's just go to Matthew 4 and 10. All right.
Matthew chapter 4, verse 10. Then said Yahawashi unto him, Get thee hence, Satan, for it is written, Thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only shalt thou serve.
That's right. So people wondering, who does Craig Spence serve or whatever? Well, ultimately, everybody's supposed to be serving the Most High. All right. Especially if you're so-called Black, Hispanic, or Native man, woman, or child. You should be serving the Most High first and foremost. All right. So read on.
Who was Craig Spence really, and whom did he serve? There was less than a decade to find out, because on November 12, 1989, Spence was found dead in the Boston Ritz-Carlton Hotel at age 48, clad in a tuxedo with $3 in his pocket and a newspaper clipping by his side. The clipping detailed legislative efforts to protect CIA agents who were called to testify before the government.
Right. So sounds like he was possibly working with the FBI, the federal government, and maybe he was getting ready to start blowing a whistle on somebody. You know what I'm saying? Read on.
Spence's death was deemed a suicide, though the details of how he did it are murky. His final act was to crawl in His final act was to scrawl in black marker on the hotel mirror, quote, Chief, consider this my resignation, effective immediately.
Right. So this is something that he scribbled on his bathroom mirror in the hotel before he passed away. Apparently, after he did. Okay, go ahead.
As you always said, you can't ask others to make a sacrifice if you are not ready to do the same. Life is duty. God bless America. To the rich, please forgive this inconvenience.
Right. So he wasn't in a rush, that's for sure, because that's a long message to write on the mirror. But ultimately, he apologized to the people, including the staff at the hotel. Right? All right, so let's read on.
Who was, quote, Chief? What was the work from which Spence, quote, resigned? Over 30 years later, it is still unclear.
Right, because like I said earlier, even though he was a popular person, a lot of his affairs were very private, right? Go ahead.
But between his introduction to the public via the New York Times profile and his sudden death, a disturbing narrative emerged. In late June 1989, the newly formed paper, the Washington Times, began a series of exposés on Spence that would run for months. The first, published on June 29th, claimed that the purpose of Spence's parties, which he had been holding since the late
Listen up. Go ahead.
which he had been holding since the late 1970s, was to entrap U.S. and foreign government and business officials in a sexual blackmail operation.
Read that last sentence again. This is where it all starts to take shape here.
That the purpose of Spence's parties, which he had been holding since the late 1970s, was to entrap U.S. and foreign government and business officials in a sexual blackmail operation.
This man's a titan of industry, so he already knows how to get whatever he wants, and you gotta set up the leads, man. Read on.
Spence bugged the gatherings to compromise guests, provided cocaine, blackmailed some associates, and spent up to $20,000 a month on male prostitutes for the attendees.
See that? And all these attendees are not women.
Right.
But he's spending $20,000 a month on male prostitutes. Right? Go ahead.
As a result, Spence had fallen under federal investigation for credit card fraud, illegal interstate prostitution, abduction, and use of minors for sexual perversion, extortion, larceny, and related illicit drug trafficking, and use of prostitutes and their clients.
Pure demon, right? Go ahead.
The Washington Times procured copies of hundreds of credit card statements of Spence's clients to verify their claims, and printed excerpts of the documents alongside the articles. Henry Benson was the owner of the D.C. escort service whom Spence hired on a monthly basis. On June 29, 1989, Benson told the Washington Times that he feared the investigation into Spence was going to be derailed by high-level administration officials.
Right. And that's to be expected. I mean, because he's got them all, he's blackmailing them all. He's got them all on camera doing something strange, right? So that's a valid concern for anybody who's trying to blow the whistle on this Spence character, right? I mean, he's pretty much untouchable in a way, right? Because he's in with all the elites, right? Let's see how that works out, all right? Go ahead.
He said that Spence had been giving late-night tours of the White House to clients and prostitutes, including a midnight tour on the 4th of July.
And this guy's not the president. He's not even a politician. But somehow he's got the ability to give late-night tours of the White House.
Wow.
Did it say who was at the tours yet?
No.
All right, read on.
Okay. He said that Spence had been giving late-night tours of the White House to clients and prostitutes.
There you go.
Yeah, okay.
To clients and prostitutes.
Wow. In the White House.
In the White House in the 80s.
Wow.
Late night tours. Who the hell is this guy? He throws parties and he's giving tours at the White House. Wow. This is America, y'all. Right, who's running America? Go ahead.
He said that Spence had been giving late-night tours of the White House to clients and prostitutes, including a midnight tour on the 4th of July. A detail later corroborated by other outlets.
Right, so it's been proven, right? Not just speculation or hearsay. These things were taking place. Okay, go ahead.
In his 2014 memoir, published decades after his release from prison, he was indicted for his role in the operation. Vincent claimed that Spence, along with Lawrence E. King Jr., an Omaha businessman with close ties to the Reagan administration, who was arrested in 1988 for financial crimes, operated in, quote, interstate pedophile network that flew children from coast to coast.
Wow.
And you know, the sad thing about this King fella, he's a J.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this Omaha guy,
Yeah.
businessman, he's a J, man.
Wow.
Terrible. Go ahead. Interstate pedophile ring flying children from
Wow.
coast to coast. Where they getting these children from, people?
Right.
And how come nobody's looking for them?
Right.
This stuff is still happening today. You better believe it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Read on.
Operated in, quote, interstate pedophile network that flew children from coast to coast. He said Spence told him the operation was for the purpose of blackmailing the powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And that Spence admitted all rooms in his home were bugged with surveillance devices.
You know, it's crazy because I just can't wrap my head around this. Because I know me and the brothers in this room, I mean, if we had money, fame, power, if anybody was trying to blackmail us, you could not bring us a load of children and expect to, you know what I mean? These people are already off. They're wicked, man. You know, to even be open to the, you know, illicit sex and all that is one thing, but it's got to be with a minor of the same sex. Wicked, man. You know, it makes me think about something Godal was saying on the lesson previously about, you know, like it's got some kind of black magic or something, you know, it's something else. The reason why they targeting these young boys, you know what I mean, and stuff like that, and it's always sexual.
Rituals they're doing. Yeah, sexual rituals. Like the whole puppy case is about. But they ain't talking about a sexual ritual to Satan. But that stuff was so demonic between him and Cassie.
It's crazy because
it's
this stuff made me think about him, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because when this Spence character, you know, he was out the picture, he died. Then here comes Epstein, but now Epstein's gone. I'm thinking, did he fill that spot?
Yeah,
Crazy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's more than